Hello, and welcome to another 3D Scanners PolyWorks video. I'm Ben, one of your account managers, and today we're at the MTC in Coventry, filming an updated version of our CNC CMM process. Regular users of PolyWorks and watchers of our videos will know that in 2024, the interface of the software updated, so we're here today to show you the changes and any improvements that have been made. So let's get started. So here we have our updated interface for PolyWorks Inspector. So the first thing I'm going to do is jump into our Home tab and import our CAD model for today. This is our 3D Scanners demo block. And then what I'm going to do is jump into the device tab that we have here, and then I'm going to connect to our machine. So again, today we're using an CNC CMM. Same as normal, previous versions, it'll ask me what currently mounted tool I have. So in this case, I'm using a 50x5. Select OK, and then you can see we have our quill and our probe on the screen in front of me. What I will now do, so in the new version of PolyWorks, the new layout, if I jump into the View tab, in our device drop-down, I can turn on the CNC CMM table and the CMM volume, and this gives us an indication that the first step we need to do is align our part to the machine bed that it's on at the moment. Before I do that, however, I myself like to begin recording our sequence from the very beginning. So you can now find the sequence editor within PolyWorks in the Measure tab, and here you've got the sequence editor. So if I open that up, and then as we're already connected to our machine, when I hit record, you'll see that we have some initial steps within our sequence. So we have our three activations at the beginning. We then have our CNC parameters, what tool I'm using, and what orientation we're currently in. Okay, so as I now move into the next step of our pre-alignment, that will automatically populate the sequence as I go through. Okay, one thing to know that might not be clear to all of you, if I close the sequence for the time being, you will see in the bottom right corner down here, the sequence is still being recorded. So there is no need to have the sequence editor open all the time if you don't want to. So the alignment I'm going to start with today is the surface points alignment, and I can find that in our Align tab, and then surface points. And then as you'll see, here are some that I've made previously. So traditionally, we can just anchor these points on. But here we have them already. And what I can do is on the right-hand side here, I can select probe source points. And then bear with me while I probe these points on the part on the bed. Okay, and then on the screen, it will give me an indication of where the first point is. Driving it to the first point. So the aim here is to essentially probe within that target area on the screen. Just about there will do. So that's point one. And if the screen is in shot at the moment, hopefully you'll be able to see that the CAD model remains in the same place. It's actually the volume and the bed that move relative to the points that I'm taking. So I can just about see point number 2. So move away from the model, the part again. Come back to the front, take point number 2. Get in the right position. There we go, point number 2. Again, some adjustment, and then I know from previously that point 3 is on the other end. Work our way down. And likewise again, take number 3. And as you can see, looking at the screen, so we're already sort of roughly in the right place. So I'm just going to take our 2 points in the Z direction now on the front. So what I can do at this point, if I just rotate the screen, just to be able to see where those points are again. Line up correctly, and then I can reduce the speed on the job box if needs be. Sure I'm in the right place. Okay, we'll come out at slow speed. And again, work our way down to the end, following the point on the screen. No, just go down a little bit, point on the top left corner. Perfect. And then lastly, just on the other face, on the corner. Perfect. And then looking at the screen, you see all our points are within tolerance, so I can move on to the next phase of our process here. So I'm just going to move the probe away to a safe position. Put the job box back. So we can now see that if I now zoom out on the 3D scene, we can see our part is aligned where we would like it to be. So I can now close the window at the bottom. And then what we're going to do, if we jump back into our measure tab, open up the sequence editor, and you can see now step 7 is our measure surface points alignment. Okay. So now that we've done a free alignment, I can now begin to use the CNC functionality of the machine. So before I can do that, I need to create some datum features. So using our demo block here, so I'll jump into our home tab where you'll now find our full range of feature capabilities. I'm going to start with a plane feature, and then I'm going to set that as datum A. And then what I can do, so I'm looking to use the face at the bottom here, which is a multi-surface plane. So to do that now, we have a multiple option on the dialog zone. So left click on this one, left click on the second, and then down here we have a tick box at the bottom that confirm our multi-selection plane. Perfect. For my B and C, I'm going to use the 2 sort of holes at the beginning, at the front. So I can then jump over to our circle feature. Same principle again, datum B for, let's do this side. Datum B here. And then same principle, datum C on the left-hand side. Perfect. Now to show you the different functionality of the sequence, I'm going to record these sort of step by step. So if we start with datum A, I'm going to right click, CNC probe measured. And you'll see here on the 3D scene, we have a bit of an issue straight away. So what I'm going to do to show you some functionality of the CNC probing we have, I'm going to jump into our measurement points drop down and choose custom. I'm then going to open up the measurement points to show you some tools that we have available. So you'll see initially, based on the nominal calculation, we have 3 points. I myself am going to remove those. So if I highlight the 3 of them using the shift on the keyboard, I can then right click and delete. On the right hand side, you've got create points. So what I'm going to do, using the position of the probe currently, I'm going to anchor some measurement points. So I'm going to start here on the left hand side, top left corner, top right corner, and corner closest to myself as well. Just check that's in the, it's just off the edge. So what I can do there is I'll highlight point 4. On the right hand side, click on the drag points button and just drag that back into the plane itself. Okay. Now, those of you that are regular users will see that we have a sort of collision at the back here. So the tool path is going to drive through the CAD at the moment. Okay, so what I can do is if I come back down to our create points button down here, I can click pick go to position. If I then highlight the actual path itself, so you can see it goes through the model at the moment, left click, and then I'm able to move that point. And if I use the wheel on the mouse, I'm able to scroll up. And you'll see there that I'm able to create a go-to position safely above the part here. Now, in this case, obviously it's trying to go back down to point number 4. So what I need to do is do the same at the other end. Okay, so just scroll up to a safe position. Again, all green. One thing to be careful of, so on the bed behind me, we have a sort of tower clamp, sort of fixture kit, sort of essentially between the 2 holes. So what I need to make sure is just make sure that the path between 5 and 6 sort of is it's just going to clear it. So what I'll do, click on this one as well, and I'll just sort of stick that just a little bit higher over the top of that. Okay, so if I then right click to confirm, I can then have a look. Everything looks green. Seems to be no collisions on the fixture. So what I can then do, on the left hand side again in our tree view, or in our dialog zone, my apologies, we can hit CNC probe. The machine is about to move, so I'm just going to slow it down for safety and hit OK. Yep, so we've cleared that nice and easily. Perfect. And then one thing I didn't mention, so in the settings, we have the ability to change the clearance before and after. So the next feature that I'm going to probe is this Datum Circle B. And we can see already, look, the Datum A has been populated into the sequence for us. So moving on to Datum B, again, if I right click, CNC probe. So the first thing you'll notice is that there's no measurement points on the circle itself. So that's because PolyWorks remembers I've used a custom toolpath from last time. So if I change that back to from nominal, then you'll see here we have some points on here already. So because we've already measured a plane, the first thing I'm going to do is change the constraining plane so that we use Datum A. And then you'll still see we have some red on our toolpath. So what I'm likely to believe here is the points are too close to the bottom for our collision. So the first thing I will do is the offset to plane here. I'm going to change that so it's on 1 millimeter. And see we're green again. So now that I've changed the offset to plane, what I can do, you can still see we have some red here, but what I'd like to show you, so down here in the bottom corner, you can see we've got CNC probe. Currently, it's telling us that a potential collision has been detected. So just to prove that the software does have the collision detection available to you. If I then hit CNC probe, you get the message to say that the machine is about to move. However, I can assure you that it won't move just yet. Due to the collision detection, you can see here on the screen that you get a bounding box around the probe, the tool, and the quill itself. So if I zoom out to show you, so there that we are, if I look at it clearly, you can see there that we are going to miss the bottom of the counterboard here. But it's just to show you. So these options are editable as well. So you can decrease this, you can increase it for greater safety margin. But if I hit proceed anyway, perfect. So you see there, look, no issues with taking the measurement. Okay. One thing I could do, so if I now zoom out, so you can see here that we are now going to come across and measure circle C. One thing I could have done in circle B is increase the movement after. So what I'm actually going to do is I will do that again just to show you. So I'm going to hit stop record because we already have Datum B in our sequence. And then what I'm going to do just to show you, so down here in the bottom left corner, what I can do is increase the movement after to about 60 millimeters. And so it's just currently where the probe is. So if I hit CNC probe again, the collision section comes up just to warn us, but we know from previously that it's going to be okay. And you can see there, look, because I've moved it to 60 mil, we're now clear to head over to Datum C. So if I close that a second and jump back into our sequence and hit record, and then if I right click on circle C, CNC probe measured. Okay, similar to before. So down at the bottom, our movement before was only 20 millimeters, which you can see is going to impact with a collision. So the first thing I'll do is I'll change that back to 60. Okay. And then for the sake of showing you this one, I can see, so we have some settings, so we can change the number of points. So for this one, we'll do 4 points. Again, offset to plane is the same before. It remembers the setting. We can change the start angle. We can change the direction, the angular range. And also we can now change the fit of the circle as well. Okay. So I'm still using Datum A. And then what I'll do is say, I think we're happy with that. So as long as it comes across over the top, so the toolpath looks clear. Hit CNC probe. Again, a collision's been detected. So we have a quick look at it just to make sure we're happy. So we look as though we're going to clear. So proceed anyway. We'll just wait for that to finish. Okay. Zoom out again to see where the probe is. So again, currently at 20 millimeters, but again, that's changeable if you wish. Right, at this point, now that we've measured our datum features, I can perform a datum alignment, which again, you'll now find in our Align tab. Datum reference frame, and then Align. And in our creation box, I'm able to input A, B, and C. Click Create, click on ABC, and then click Align to finish. Perfect. And as I'm still recording, the alignment has populated our sequence for us, so it'll be there for future inspections. Click Close. And at this point, I'm going to hit Stop Record. So as you've seen, there's different ways of using the sequence. So the first one that I've done is recording step by step. There are other things you can add to that as well, such as go-to positions, sort of other sort of features or objects, such as comparison points. But what I'd like to show you now is our assisted sequence mode. So PolyWorks has the ability to take the features and input them into the sequence in an optimal order, okay? So in order for us to do that, I'm going to close our measurement points box at the bottom, okay? And then for the time being, I'm going to close the sequence and create some features on our model, okay? So I'll start off with the 4 counterbores on the front face. So I'll go to Home and create some cylinders. So notice it hasn't finished it just yet, so I'm still on multiple surface. Switch back to single, and then left click in our cylinders here. Perfect. I'm also going to create these 2 cylinders here on the outside. So the purpose of doing that is to show you a new tool available in PolyWorks or a new setting change. So if I click this button here, Trim Using CAD Surfaces, and then pick, it will only create the cylinder where we have our surface, as you can see with that first one. And then secondly, perfect. Okay. What am I then going to do? I'm also then going to create some comparison points. So I'll create some comparison points here. So anchor. And then what I will do is I will create some on the front face. So I'm anchoring them on. And then I will also create some, so I will leave those as they are for the front. But what I can also do is I only require a surface profile here on the side. So what I can do is in our comparison point window, if I change anchor to sample using grid, what I can then use is instead of linking to a reference object, I can link to a surface feature. So reference object, sorry. And so if we go to consider reference surfaces and choose selected, I'm then able to select a surface. Okay. So if I left click on that face there, and then what I'm going to do is project some comparison points onto that surface. So we shall go with X minus to project onto there. Click on preview, and you'll see there we have some comparison points. So I don't necessarily need that many. So what I can do is increase the sampling step. So if I put that at 25, you'll see there we have a row of comparison points now available. If I then hit confirm and then close, and then to clear the selection, I can just do Control and N for November on the keyboard. Perfect. And then just to finish off, I will also add a couple of circles on here as well. Okay. So that's great. I've now got all the features that I require and the comparison points as well. However, at this moment, PolyWorks doesn't know how I'm going to measure those features. So in order to get the most out of our assisted sequencing, that's the step that I'm going to start with. So if I highlight our 4 cylinders on the front, right click and go to Properties, jump into our Measurement tab and choose CNC Probe. And you'll see there that we have some points available. With regards to the cylinders, I'm able to change the number of circles. So I will leave that as 2. The number of points. However, with the capabilities of the tool that I have on at the moment, the SP25, I do have the ability to use tactile scanning. So for the cylinders, I'm going to use that. And you can see there we change from individual points to the full circle. I'm then also going to change the max depth. So at the moment, you can see we're quite deep into the hole. Change the max depth, sort of 10 millimeters is about right. And then we're going to hit apply. Okay, so those 4 have been completed. Going back to the 2 on the left-hand side, if I highlight 5 and 6, what I wanted to show you in the newer version of the software is, again, if I jump back into CNC Probe for the properties, PolyWorks now calculates, due to the fact that I've used the trimmed cylinder, we have the points only on that part of the surface. So if I show you the fit and the filtering, where are we? More here, sorry. So it's not showing me them both at the same time because I've got them selected. So if I just jump into one of them, so just double click. So you'll now see here that in our sort of point acquisition settings, it has automatically calculated the start angle and the angular range to ensure full coverage of just that surface. Okay, so those two cylinders are done. Moving on to the circles, again, highlight the two, right-click properties, change the method to CNC probe once more. Again, use tactile scanning if we wish. And said, again, editable changes down here on the left-hand side, similar to what we've already seen. Click on apply and then close. And then lastly, with the comparison points, highlight them all. Not too many things to change with these objects. So jump into the properties, click measurement, CNC probe, and then apply. So one thing I can do in here to improve the speed of the sequence is reduce the clearance. So reduce that maybe down to 10 mil instead of 20 for before and after. Okay, just to increase the speed of the process. Click apply and then close. And then what I want to do is jump back into the sequence. So back into the measure tab, back into the sequence editor. And then instead of hitting record, what I'm going to do here is click this button in the sequence. It's called Edit Sequence and Measurement Path Interactively. Okay. The small widget appears at the bottom down here. So our first icon is to add the objects to the end of the sequence. We have the ability to add them to an existing sequence and also some options here. So we can optimize the sequence itself, allow the creation of new tool orientations, and also break down a measurement into different groups. Okay, so I'll turn those on. And then what I'm going to do is back into our tree, highlight all of my objects, and then add them to the end of the sequence, just so. Perfect. And in a matter of seconds, you can see there that a toolpath has been generated for us. It's even added in the necessary go-to positions, sort of an example of some here. And we also have a tool orientation change. We actually have two. So two tool orientation changes. And you'll see that by highlighting certain steps within the sequence, it actually highlights the toolpath on the screen for you. Okay. So then what I can do with all of this ready to go, you can see our marker here in the sequence is good to go. And then all I need to do is hit our execute for marker. Now that our sequence comes to a stop, let me show you how we can retrospectively add in some features to our sequence. So what I will do, we have a trim cylinder on the top here. So again, let me jump back into our home tab and cylinder. Again, using our trim, using CAD surfaces. Got our cylinder here. So that has been created. Let me just turn off our color scale so you can see it. So here we have cylinder 9. Again, if I double click, that will take us into the properties. CNC probe. And then as discussed before, it calculates the start angle and angular range. Reason it's currently in red is due to the tool angle at the moment, but that's okay because the sequence is going to optimize that for us. So I will also put this back onto tactile scanning and we'll do a few circles on this one. So I'll do 4, hit apply and then close. And then what I can do is jump back into our sequence, open up the sequence path again, make sure the cylinder is highlighted. And then using the second of the 5 icons, I can insert that to the optimal location within the sequence. And we can see there in this instance, it's added it in after step 19, after a cylinder 6, which happens to be another trim cylinder on the side. Just highlight that again to show you. So again, just a reminder, highlighting the steps in the sequence will show you the toolpath on the screen. If I highlight all of it, you can see there it's just been situated. It's about halfway through the end portion of the sequence. Perfect. So I could go back and run that. What I would like to show you though is now how we can get this into a report. So I'm going to close down our sequence and come out of our sequence path. At this point, I no longer need the tool or the machine. So what I can do is jump into device and hit disconnect. So that takes away the probe. And I'm also going to turn off our volume and machine bed as well. So jump back into the view tab, click on device, and I can turn off the table and the volume. And now I can begin to create a basic report of what I've just measured. So what I will do first, just highlight, just indicate the CAD, and I'm going to show the datums initially. So now in 2024 and 25, what I can do is highlight our features, right click, and go to show. And then what I can do is position our model so I can see those. So I can use our coordinate system in the bottom left corner. Zoom out a little bit more. Again, in our view tab, we have our position tool. So I can then click on the features, move them where I need them, then right click to come back out of that. To then begin creating our report, I'm going to use some control views. So where you can now find all your reporting tools is in the review tab, in our control view section, and then create from 3D scene here. So create from 3D scene. I can then give it a name. So I can call this view our datums, and then I can put in the description ABC. Our control view context allows me to specify what coordinate system, so world in our case, and also the alignment. So I want to make sure this is reported in ABC. And then at the bottom, we have our ability to create our report items. So whether that's a table, a snapshot, or both. So in this case here, I'm going to use a snapshot and a table. Click on create, and then you'll see in our tree view, we now have report 1. So I can double click on it to open it. And you'll see there, look, we have our image, our table, all there ready to go. If I then revert back to the first page, I'm able to make some logo changes if required. But if I click on capture 3D scene, okay, what I can then do is if I just want an image of the CAD, flip back to the tree view, highlight our features, right click and hide. Okay, it's not doing it through there. So I can jump into view, hide all features, do it through here as well in the view tab. And then what I'm going to do is have a nice isometric view of our part here. So the dotted line around the outside, that's just a bounding box. If I jump back to dialog zone, I can maximize that if I wish, and then I can zoom in a bit further to get the full extent of the image. Click on capture, and then you see we have our CAD on the first page. The fields at the bottom, they can be filled in from our file tab, and then our properties icon. And then I can begin to fill some of those in. So for example, 3D scanners. And we'll see here it populates at the bottom. If I jump into pieces, I'm then able to fill in some different pieces as well. So for example, we have device. So what I can do is manage property. And then in device, click on the spanner icon again. And then I can add some possible values in here. So I can add in CNC CMM 1. CNC CMM 2, for example. And then I can even indicate to the user that is a required value when a new piece is created. So click on OK, populated below, and then I'm now able to choose one of our options. So in this case, CNC CMM 1, and you'll see here on the report that is also populated as well. Okay. For the report title and the author, if desired, you can go to the report sort of window, report editor, click on file, choose properties, and then in here we can type in 3D scanners demo block, and then fill in our name, apply, and we'll see then they're populated as well. I'm just going to add one more view, so I will add some comparison points. So if I jump back to my 3D scene, what I would do is I'll turn on object group 1. I'm happy with the view there. Let's say if needs be, we can jump back to our home tab and turn on our color scale. So we can then go and edit the scale if needs be, but I'm more than happy with that. So zoom in a bit further. Jump back to review, create from 3D scene, same principle. So comparison points, description if needed. Again, control view context if you wish to fill that in. And this time I'm just going to go with a snapshot, create, and then if I jump back to the report editor, again, we'll see that's in there as well. If at a later point I wish that I did add a table, what I can do is I can jump into our, again, review tab, control reviewer, and you'll see we now have the list of our controls, our control view, sorry, in here. So comparison points. And then at the top here, I'm then able to click on the drop down and then add a table retrospectively if needs be. So create table, jump back into the report editor, and you can see there we've got the table we need just afterwards. All of these are updatable, so if I do need to change tolerances, I can do. So if I jump into home, jump into geometry controls, flick back to my tree and choose object group 1, I can click on the drop down for tolerance, and I can choose one of our default tolerances here. So for example, if I choose 0.1, and then come away from that, you'll see there, it's updated in geometry controls and also the report as well. So there I have our simple report for the time being. What I'd like to do now is show you that essentially now that we have a sequence in place, we're able to run through this again. So for piece number 2. So what I will do is I'll come back out of our control view, jump into the home tab, click on new piece, make sure we hit save. And then in the example where, because I've got a fixture set up, if I was to remove the current part and put in the next one, I wouldn't need to do the manual surface points alignment again. So in order to achieve this, in our fixed alignment setup, all I need to do is hit surface points. Okay. We have our sequence ready to go at the bottom. Okay. So if I hit create. So as I said before, when we created piece properties, I indicated in the tick box that the value required was for the device. So what I can do is I can hit cancel, jump back up to our piece properties, click on the drop down and choose our device again. So we're using the same one, CNC CMM 1, surface points is ticked, launch plane inspection is ready to go. Click on create. And then what I'll do is I'll just move the probe away before we go back to 0, 0. Again, it's asking for the currently mounted tool. So again, we're using the 50 by 5. And it's again indicated that the machine's about to move. So it will go back to 0, 0, which was our first orientation. And then away we go with piece number 2. Thank you for tuning into today's video, showcasing the new ribbon toolbar in PolyWorks, specifically today looking at the CNC CMM toolbar and the device toolbar. If you have any suggestions regarding future videos, please contact us through our social media platforms, or feel free to email us at support@3dscanners.co.uk. And please remember to subscribe. See you next time.